Well, ACNFers, the frontrunner is out. I think it's gaining a bit more traction out there. Maybe not at my last event at Elliott Bay Book Company, 5 people. But elsewhere, perhaps. Been getting some nice texts and emails. Turn those texts and emails into online reviews, please. An event! On July 27th, there will be a live taping of the podcast featuring ya boy, B.O. CNF Pod's reins handed over to Daniel Littlewood. I don't know how I feel about that, man. 1 p.m. Gratitude Brewing in Eugene. And on July 31st, I'll be at Laurelwood Golf Course in Eugene ahead of the U.S. Championships, Track and Field Championships. First appearing with Danny and Justin on Fox Sports Eugene, then signing books from 3 to 6. Go on, get yourself a front runner. We want to earn out this advance, people. We got to earn it out. Let's go.
When you publish a book, like, you don't necessarily make any money, but you do make friends.
Well, I don't know what it is about pasta and pesto, but man, once I start, I can't stop. Hey, CNFers, it's the Creative Nonfiction Podcast, a show that dives deep into the art and craft of telling true stories, talking to tellers of true tales about the true tales they tell. Got Dana Jeri Maier today. Oh yeah. This incredible artist is the author of Skip to the Fun Parts, Cartoons and Complaints About Creativity. It's one of the best books on creativity because it deals with doubt, deals with jealousy, ideas, perfectionism.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a glut of advice out there. Like, what am I going to add? I just wanted to create something as honest but non-advicey as I could. So that was the goal.
Dana is a hilarious cartoonist, and you should pick up a frontrunner and also get a copy of Skip to the Fun Parts. Came out a little less than 2 years ago, but evergreen, and one of those things you could just pick up and get a laugh and get a little inspiration from. What more can you ask for than a little bit of a laugh and a little bit of inspiration? I've long wanted to be a cartoonist. I know there's no perfect job, but I love the idea of creating something funny and whimsical and not having to talk to as many people as being a biographer entails. Show notes to this episode and more at BrendanO'Hara.com. Hey, there. You can find links to hot blogs and forms to sign up for the flagship Rage Against the Algorithm newsletter, as well as the hottest thing since me and 7-inch inseam shorts, Pitch Club, where I have a journalist audio annotate a pitch, ideally a cold pitch, that earned publication. If you're a working journalist, you're going to want to subscribe. If you're a journalism teacher, make your students subscribe. Forever free. Welcome to pitchclub.substack.com. And if you want to support the show and its infrastructures with a little dollars and cents, you can go to patreon.com/CNFpod. You get FaceTime with me to talk things out, depending on your tier. It's not very organized, but it's something. And maybe one day I will make it organized. Or maybe part of its charm is that it's not organized. Dana is a contributor to the New Yorker Daily Shouts and the creator behind the cartoon series The Worried Well. She has illustrated for the Phillips Collection, the DC Public Library, Politics and Prose, and Museum Hack. She's into improv, and she lives in DC with her 2 cats and her man-husband. You can learn more about Dana at her website, danajerimaier.com. And you can follow her on Instagram at Dana Jeri Maier. And she has a funny Substack called Skipping to the Fun Parts. Tricking yourself into creating art, one post-it note doodle at a time. Huzzah! Go check out her work as we talk about her influences, her voice and style, how she doesn't trust anyone with a neat desk, bad ideas, jealousy, and a lot more. She's a real treat. I mean that. Part and shot about how spin rate in baseball is metaphor for the writing life, as well as 2 dead nutria. Here's the montage. Riff.
Doing it. And of course, deadlines help and then sort of sit back from the suckitude.
If you want tenacity, get the fuck off social media.
Don't be a dick.
This is going to have to interest somebody somewhere other than me.
New Yorker cartoonists are I'm such a fanboy for you guys.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. It's funny, I was at this party with a bunch of other New Yorker cartoonists it was like in February, and I feel like everybody there had like the biggest imposter syndrome. like, like I went to shake one guy's hand who I'd never met, and he the first thing he told me was like, well, I've only had one cartoon in the New Yorker ever, so I don't know if I really belong here. And I was like, that's cool. I don't care. I wasn't about to judge you. I don't know if I belong here, but
Oh my God. It is so funny the degree to which everyone kind of thinks they're a fraud compared to everybody else. Yeah, and like similarly how I fanboy about the cartoonists, I similarly so because I'm mainly a sort of a journalist and a writer. It's like profile writers for the New Yorker. That's why I really fanboy out that stuff. And
Sure,
like Nick Baumgarten's one of my all-time favorites. And I spoke to him a couple weeks ago, and it's so funny. When we were off mic, he was saying, so he finally, I'm using the term finally because that's kind of what he said. Like, he finally has a book coming out, and he was telling me how much of a fraud he felt like for being a New Yorker writer, and he hasn't written a book yet. And I'm sort of a nobody, and I've written 2 books. I feel like a fraud because I haven't had features published in magazines like the New Yorker.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucked up how we how we compare ourselves to others, and how we always feel a bit fraudulent and impostery. And it's just like, oh my God, like I look at Nick, I'm like, you are the apotheosis of what I want to do, and he feels like a fraud too.
That's so sad, but like, yeah, I totally get that. But yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's wild. But yeah, I think as we kind of as the duck landing into the water, we can kind of roll into our conversation. And just as a batting leadoff kind of question, like how did you walk into to illustrating and drawing and drawing comics?
Well, let's see. So I was, artsy enough in high school. I went to art school after I graduated, and I studied illustration. And then right when I graduated, I realized I did not want to be a freelance illustrator, which I guess in my head involved like, you send your work to, art directors and they take you or they don't. And I had a few like, very sad, low-paying jobs doing that, and I thought, oh no, I've wasted my career. I've wasted my education. This is not what I want to do at all. So then I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to be a regular artist. I'm going to draw the kind of art I like to make, and just have a day job to pay the bills. And that was kind of my guiding principle for a while. So I was kind of at that point, I decided I was more of like a fine artist, which basically meant that my work was not really going to appear in a magazine. It was going to appear on a wall in a gallery somewhere. And also, I don't think my work really made enough sense to be considered illustration. It was a little abstract, a little not. It was still like what some people called cartoony, but it was, it wasn't like giving you a clear message of, yes, this is exactly what this is. But then I guess over the years, I just found myself incorporating like more and more text into my art, just organically. And then at some point I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to have to admit that I'm a cartoonist now. So I started making like these still kind of like weird, a little like less cartoons that were more cerebral at first. They didn't really have like strict punchlines. They had like a lot of text and like a lot of like mini punchlines. But then I got to ones that are a little more direct. And then at one point I felt like I had enough that I could actually submit to the New Yorker. And then that's when I guess my art career that's when I got some momentum. I was able to, tell some stuff to the New Yorker. I got a book deal when one of those went viral, and I guess that's what I've mostly been focused on for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I love hearing you talking about like getting the momentum, but until you reach that point, it can be really frustrating. Tires spinning in the mud, walking up the wrong, walking up the down escalator, and you just feel like you're not getting anywhere. Maybe like take us to those moments of that frustration of trying to get that traction and that coveted momentum that you've been able to parlay to skip the fun parts and beyond.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know. It's like it never feels good to get rejected. I always have to like
Right.
remind myself like that's like the natural state of things being rejected.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think it was just like so many like little small moments that it didn't feel like there was like this one big one. Maybe when I got my agent, that felt like a big like, oh, this is a milestone. I'm trying to remember like all like the sad little feelings. I think what actually made it like more fun, and this was like I guess maybe 2018, 2019, when I was just kind of like kind of a cartoonist but kind of not. I was just sort of like putting stuff on Instagram, and I was actually making friends on Instagram because we'd comment on each other's work. Like it felt like there was this sense of community, and like nobody was really, I never felt like, oh, I need to, nothing needed to happen from it. I was just enjoying myself. But then I guess once you once you started caring a little bit more and more about like metrics and like actual markers of success, that's when you're like, oh crap, now that I have some skin in the game, I really am following these things way more closely.
Did that experience start to chip away at the fun you were having with it?
I guess it was fun in a different way. It was kind of like I saw like, okay, this is what the assignment is a little bit more clearly. Like I began to pay a little bit more attention as to like what stuff would sell versus what stuff was going to just be kind of like fun for me. And I feel like I always have that in the back of my mind, but at least now that I know that, I don't feel as though I have this. You definitely don't want to only make stuff because you think somebody else will like it or that it will sell, because that is, well, for one thing, is if you make something because you think it will sell, it automatically won't. That's just how it works. But yeah, I think is like, I don't know. It's so obvious when an artist is like enjoying themselves, and when they're not, an artist is just sort of like following a formula that they think that they need to. You can see that immediately, I think, in work.
Yeah, hearing you talk about that degree to which when it became like a true vocation versus when it might have been more kind of an on the side thing. There's a moment in Skip the Fun Parts too where you have like the pro sitting at the desk and kind of like grinding through it, and the other voice coming in and be like, hey, you should, this, why chain yourself to the desk if you're not feeling it? Like go out for a walk, and this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Is that kind of the dichotomy that you've wrestled with also, like kind of like the turning pro versus, the one who is doing it more as a on the side or a hobby?
Yeah, no, I think that I wrote that cartoon because I agree with both of those opinions flat out. Like I feel like
For real, yeah.
I was trying to resolve that in my head, and then somehow it just became a cartoon. Because I think the one who's just like, yeah, if you're not feeling this, you are basically just wasting your time, has a very good point. But the person at the desk who's like, well, you're a lot of times it involves doing things. You're not going to feel like doing your work 100% of the time. You have to just plow through, also has a very good point. So I don't know, and I think at the end of the cartoon it never really gets resolved, and it still isn't resolved for me. So
yeah, it's like Michael Lewis, the writer. Like some of his big advice to so many people is just like, and you hear there's not wholly original, but it's just like, just sit your ass in the chair. Like there's no escaping it. You gotta just, whether you like it or not, whether you're in the mood or not, whether you're in the flow or not, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's like there's no substitute for just getting your ass in the chair and just staring at the page and grinding it out. But to your point, see both sides of it, really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not gonna get very far if there's you don't you just don't force yourself to sit down and do that thing you don't feel like doing. But what I always found is that whatever you get down and do it, it's not as bad as it was in your head. And I'm like relearning that lesson over and over again for some reason.
Yeah. And I love getting a sense of when I'm talking to writers about voice and style, and that very much extends to comics and illustration, because there is lots of voice and style. And how did you arrive at your particular voice and style?
That's a good question, because I think so much of it was very unconscious.
Right. It evolves.
Yeah, it evolves, but you realize, like, if you just kind of go through your work and you look back, you see, like, oh, there's these themes that I find myself just talking about over and over again. Like museums, for some reason, they keep coming up in my work, or creativity in general, which is how I kind of got the idea for Skip to the Fun Parts, because that became like this running theme that I saw, and then I guess I had enough to say about it that I could fill a whole book with it. But yeah, it's really accidental. I think if there's something that just makes you like really, it's funny, you get those questions a lot, like, how do you come up with your style? And it's just the way you are stuck drawing or stuck writing. Like, a lot of it is so not up to you in the first place. You just sort of work with what you got and then refine it to the best of your ability, and somehow that becomes your style.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And you see it across, be it writers, even through a particular point of view, and even just like conversation in interview podcast, or everything is just, there is this kernel, and then it gets more and more refined as you go. And you look at like early Calvin and Hobbes, or early Far Side, early Garfield, like those are pretty raw drawings, but through the repetition of thousands of them, they get really polished over the end, but it's always still the same kernel of that voice and style. So yeah, it is like this evolution and really like refinement over time.
That's a good point. Have you ever seen like the early XKCD cartoons? Like, even those are stick figures, but even those, like, they were really crude stick figures, and then they became kind of elegant stick figures. And he was also being a little more, weird and experimental at first, until he figured like, oh, I'm the science guy, or whatever. However he would describe himself as whatever cartoonist he is.
Yeah, like early Simpsons are like super crude, and then like nasty crude. Even like the first two seasons, they were even kind of gruesome, and then they definitely kind of scrubbed some of that out and polished it up. So like the seasons 3 through 9 are that, and that's basically when I stopped watching. But it was just like those. A degree of refinement to your point, like the initial kernel and the initial voice and style was there, but it's like it just got better and tighter through that repetition.
Yeah, it's a process to figure out what kind of artist you are or want to be. And I need that time. I think it's kind of nice when nobody's really paying attention to you, and you get to figure that out on your own.
Obscurity is so good in
it's
that
great.
regard.
Yeah, no, it's really underrated. I agree.
Yeah. Who were some of the cartoonists and illustrators that you locked into that helped build the base of your own style when you kind of broke out on your own, so to speak?
Let's see. There's one you might not have heard of. His name is Richard Thompson. He did the cartoon called what is it? Cul-de-sac, and Richard's Poor Almanac. He was kind of a DC local. He kind of had this cult following, but he's one of the best artists I've ever encountered, and he's just really, really smart, and really had this really good writer, but really incredible artist as well. He had like this really playful line. No, I wish more people have heard of him. But yeah, he's amazing, and because I grew up reading him, I think he was always kind of like locked into my brain. Let's see. I also love Lisa Hannawalt. Obviously, she's great, and I love that she has like 6 different like mediums that she works with, and you can always tell like, oh, that's Lisa Hannawalt, because she draws a certain way, but she draws a certain way if she's using watercolors or just pen and ink, or I guess whatever it happens to be. And she's so honest and pervy and weird. I don't know. I just love her work. I'm trying to think of other artists. Saul Steinberg, I think, is like kind of like anybody who's like remotely associated with the New Yorker cartoonist will love Saul Steinberg. He's the guy who did that famous New Yorker cover, like View from New York, and it just says New York is like the center of everything, and then it's like everything else in the far distance.
Yeah.
He's that guy. You would have recognized his work. But yeah, he does like these really great playful line drawings. He's another one who always just manages to capture everything but with a couple of lines, and which I think is what cartoons are always aiming to do.
What comes first to you, the writing or the drawing?
That's such an obvious question, and I think it changes from time to time. I think usually, like if it's something I'm working out in my head, a lot of times it's the writing. Like I'm just kind of sketching a note, and then I'll put the notes down, and then some like crude drawings to accompany them. But a lot of times, when I'm just drawing for the hell of it, I don't know. I'll create my own, like this could be a caption contest, except there's no caption.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely work together. I think a lot of times lately I've been starting with the writing, and I kind of wish I could get more to starting with the drawing.
Yeah.
Because I think that tends to be more fun. Like drawing just because you don't have an idea is I don't know, the purest form.
What would you identify as like, your something like your favorite peers? Like when you see someone in New York, like like a Will McPhail, and you look at his stuff, and he's just like, oh my
beautiful.
God, like he's just like so smart and funny, and his drawings are beautiful too. And it's like you look at that, like who are some of those that you admire, and you're like, damn, that is good. I like that.
Oh, well, Will McPhail, obviously, he's great. Yeah, I love Emily Flake. Obviously, she's class.
Mhm.
Do you know her work?
A little, yes, a little bit. Not as. Oh yes. Yeah. She's coming to me now. A little more. But
I think
yeah.
her famous one was the guy who said he's telling his kid on the playground, remember son, if you can't say something nice, say something clever yet devastating. I don't know if that's her most favorite New Yorker cartoon. It's definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I have a lot of, now that I'm kind of in that little group to some extent. I see friends in the New Yorker, and that's always fun. I have these two cartoonists, Busy Coy and Elisa Trasser. They're like a duo, and they which I think is amazing. It's like very what's the word? Like that's how it used to work in I guess when New Yorker was just starting out. Like the artists and the caption writers were two separate sets of people. So that's what they do. Like Busy's the writer, and Leah is the artist. So they collaborate to create these really great cartoons. So I love seeing their work in the New Yorker.
Yeah, they're just but there's some like the cover writers, the cover illustrators. They're kind of like a different species too. Like right, they don't typically do. Well, that's not necessarily true. Like
no, you're right. Like it's very rare that like a cover artist does like a cartoon. Like Roz Chast is one of the few who bridges.
Yeah,
that.
Roz does, and you've had a cover, right? Have you?
Sadly, no.
Okay.
But I'm really flattered you think so.
Yeah, I thought I saw that in like the background of your office in an image, like maybe on your website. It looked like there was a New Yorker cover.
It was probably by Saul Steinberg. Yeah, it's one I have framed in my room. But again, very flattered that you think I would do that.
Yeah, one of these days I hope so, because you've got that whimsical sensibility that I think plays well to a New Yorker cover.
I think Daniel Close, I'm reading an interview with him, and he's obviously one of the greats, and he said that New Yorker covers were just meant to make you say, they weren't meant to be funny, but they were meant to make you say, oh. So it's like that kind of humor.
Yeah. I always love getting a sense of the doubt that a lot of us wrestle with, and we all do to some extent. And I wonder, just for you, like when you're feeling like inadequate in this line of work, how do you wrestle with those feelings?
I mean, I think that's unfortunately like kind of the default. Like you're never gonna feel like like usually if you don't feel that doubt, that's like when you're having a good day. So I think you're just gonna get used to you kind of get used to it, and you're like shut up. So it's become so, and like you were saying, like it's because it's some like the way everybody feels that you really, I don't know, acknowledging it is almost self-indulgent in a way. It's like, yeah, fine, join the club of people who feel inadequate, just just get on with it. Yeah, my rule is like if I do get if it's a day I receive a rejection, I get to feel bad about it for like 24 hours, but after that, you have to move on.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good way of thinking about it. And I love how in Skip the Fun Parts too, you have an exchange between two characters where it's not necessarily doubt, but it was just like naming the bad feeling. Oh, that's just Fred.
Yeah,
Fred. And it's just like, oh yeah, go away, Fred. Shut up, Fred.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, If you can personify it in that way and just be like, yeah, you're not serving me, man. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. He's just some guy.
Just some guy. And I love this idea of like where you start at the start of Skip the Fun Parts, which I reread again this morning. There's the little fairy where you have like the infinite supply of good ideas that that might sound dumb the next day or won't sound dumb the next day. I love that sentiment, and also like a little bit later about this bad idea box. Talk about that, because that's really important, I think, for creative people to wrestle with bad ideas, because it's only through that you start to graduate to good stuff.
Yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of my cartoons are me just like wrestling with a personal problem that I'll manage to jot down. But yeah, I think I feel like sometimes you just feel like you're swimming in bad ideas, and that's all you're coming up with until exactly, you just feel like they're getting delivered to you, and that's it. But yeah, it is really a matter of just, and I don't know, I for some reason I thought like getting a box of bad ideas delivered was hilarious to me. So that's kind of where that image came from. I decided to make it into a whole cartoon. Yeah, and it's funny too, because I feel like some people work by just coming up with like they'll just throw spaghetti at the wall. They'll just say, like, they'll just come up with ideas, so many ideas, and they don't care if they're bad or not. They'll just like, it's quantity, not quality. And for me, I feel like a lot of times too, it's just like, it's more binary than that. It's like I have either 0 ideas or an idea, and it's not necessarily a good idea, but it's something I can poke at enough that I can make something out of it.
Yeah, well, and it's something that you've written about and spoke about with like in your improv saw workshop.
Oh, you watched that? Or
I did.
Oh, that's amazing.
For a bit of research. Yeah, and
you're thorough.
Yeah, I try, and but
I
this idea
that.
of course, and this idea of honesty, like that's really where maybe your less jokey things end up being the most popular, because you're being honest. Maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah. No, exactly. It was no, I love improv. Unironically, I think everybody should take a class. It's great. And and I think that's I'm in level 4 now, and
all right.
No, I'm gonna climb up the ladder. No, I'll probably be in the Herald team in 5 years, the rate I'm going. Who knows? But I feel like they keep having to remind you, like, do not try to be funny. If you try to be funny, you're just going to clamp up. The funny will come. You just have to keep going and say something honest. And once I heard that, it was like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. It applies to it doesn't just apply to improv. It applies to cartoons. Like if you try to be funny, that usually does not work unless you are really, really know what you're doing. It's more for the rest of us, just try to say something honest, and somehow if you're honest enough, and you will get to the funny part.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the universal lies in the specific. Like if you can get something real concrete, it just relates. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's like, I feel seen.
Yeah. You don't have to be like, what is a great statement I can make about the state of the world? It's more just like, what are these little moments that happen?
Yeah. And how would you kind of alluded to it, but how has improv maybe helped your cartooning?
Well, definitely the way I approach humor. I thought it just made so much sense for me. Like, oh yeah, this is that seemed to go hand in hand. I think just seeing actually the contrast to how improv works and how cartooning works was kind of a revelation for me. Like, I feel like the problem with cartooning is that, like, it's maybe not even just cartooning, but like if you're sitting alone by yourself, distractions are everywhere. And then with improv, you do not have that luxury. Like you have to be in the scene. You have to be, on the back line, like looking and seeing what other people are doing. So I think that kind of helped. Like it was a way to show me how there's ways you can really force yourself to focus. And I think that definitely that helped. I can't say like specifically like how that helped my cartooning, but I feel like that gave me like a little, I don't know, firmer legs to stand on somehow.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And yeah, speaking of how fractured or splintered our attention is and managing those distractions, how do you do that so you can try to have a decent session at your ledger. Just given how bombarded we are with just incessant attention grabbing things.
Well, I'm not as a prose as I feel like as I wish I would be. Or that being said, I don't know, lately I've gotten into the idea that you should have a workspace that you really like going to. Like it should feel cozy. I think I've gotten into the whole mindset like your physical surroundings influence your state of mind a lot lately, and so I don't know. Embracing that kind of means that I've gotten very good at I want to make sure that like, okay, if I have stuff on my desk, I have a system. I know where all my pens go. I have this thing for like holding up books. I have like these drawers where I can, this is where all the junk paper goes. This is where all the finished product goes. So just having like that basic stuff has really helped me. And I like to surround myself with other people's art. Like in the rest of my house is basically a vanity gallery. Like I just have like like all of my art that I can't store anywhere else. But in my room, I just have art from like my friends who are artists or other artists I admire, just on my walls. And I don't know, for some reason that makes me feel more whole. I don't know what the right adjective is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's something to be said for like the context of a room. Like when you enter the space you're in now, like it does something to your brain where like, oh, this is where I construct these things. This is where I do the work that I that I love to do, that pays the bills, etc. It's kind of it's really tricky when you work from home to like have those like separate contexts, but but I imagine if you create the right space, it does help the mindset. And you kind of drew a cartoon about that too, about messy desks. And to that extent, I imagine that is inspired by your particular desk, and you took it in different directions.
Yeah, that's like it's so funny because that's like the laziest way to come up with ideas. Like, just look around you. Can you make a cartoon about that printer or that lamp? Oh, a desk. Hey, actually, there's some stuff here. I guess you're a messy desk guy. Am I correct? Or are you a neat desk guy?
I wish I was a neat desk guy. I wish I was a neat anything guy. But it doesn't happen, Dana. It just my out of the box software is just so. I have to do these constant software updates in my brain, and it always regresses to the mean of just chaos.
I don't trust neat desks anyway, so
yeah.
Oh, I think I put that in the that's that you're just over cleaning because you're avoiding something.
Yeah,
my
exactly
theory. Messy
right.
desks mean you're actually working.
Perfect. All right, we'll get along just fine. Yeah. There's a moment in the book too, early on when you're admiring your second cousin's drawings, and she's a 6-year-old girl, and you said like you're basically trying your whole life to figure out how to draw in that uninhibited way, that a 6-year-old does.
Yeah.
And it's over the course of our just maturing, you kind of get away from that unbridled sense of creating without judgment. And how have you how have you embraced that ethos to this day?
Yeah, I love her work so much, and I think little kids kind of understand drawing in a way that adults have definitely forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, speaking of my wall of inspiration, I have like 2 of her. No, not her, but another 6-year-old of mine. Like I have her work on my wall right now, and the pieces are amazing. Yeah, getting back to that is I don't know. I think I might have to accept it's impossible. Like you can, you can't go back in time and become 6 years old again. I think the best you can do is, use whatever tricks and shortcuts in order to, draw the sort of thing that you want to draw, and draw it in the way that doesn't necessarily have to make sense or stick to proportion or perspective. Like just telling myself like I don't have to follow those rules if I don't want to has been really helpful. I think if you want to draw things that look like the things they look like, as Homer Simpson says, you kind of have to there's some rules you got to follow, but you don't always have to. So I think giving yourself that permission to not all the time really helps. Because,
Yeah.
it's a 6-year-old wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, and you like piggybacking on that, you write that it came down to conviction.
Yeah.
And like they draw with a certain conviction that is devoid of judgment and being judged. And getting to that point is so hard as an adult.
Yeah, because you're constantly judging. You're judging yourself, you're judging others. That's like how you operate. But yeah, they're not really thinking in those terms yet. God bless kids. Yeah, I feel like that's no, and that's really, you kind of forget that skill, and then you have to re-remember it.
I love too in the book where you harnessing the narcissism of comparison.
Oh yeah.
And coming up with a nemesis. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about your nemesis in Pendergast.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better. I've been trying the Sam Harris meditation, and he's very like anti-comparing yourself to others. So I was like, oh, rats, I'm really doing it wrong. Yeah, I think it got to the point where I finally was just like, this is too much negative energy. I have to just mute people who are just making me feel feel things I shouldn't be feeling, which I think has been helpful. I mean, there's always going to be something else to fill that void, especially on Instagram. But yeah, I feel like you do get a lot of clarity when you see what kind of artist you don't want to be. Or like, oh, okay, I see why I'm not doing that, because when you do that, you're just, yeah, when I see people who are just going into these, you can tell when artists are doing art for the gram, and I think that drives me nuts. And I think and maybe because that drives me nuts, because maybe it's something I kind of see in myself. Like I relate to that impulse so much. So I think that's probably why it annoys me so much. There's that sense that, oh, there but for the grace of God, or crap, am I actually doing that? That's that feeling. I think that's probably the heart of the matter.
Yeah, and so when you're working through that and recognizing that in yourself, how best do you just kind of shield that and get back to what it is you do best?
Well, I think maybe I hinted at this in the book. I feel like when you're actually enjoying yourself, that's the best way to really to go beyond those feelings. Like when you kind of remember, like, oh yeah, this is a fun activity. This is this isn't something I have to do. This is something I get to do. I think once you figure that part out, I think that's really weirdly revolutionary. Like I realized, I forget if I wrote this anywhere. Like the difference between like a warm-up drawing and like a sketchbook drawing. Like warm-up drawings kind of like I force myself to do them because it makes me remember, like, oh, I like drawing. I'm just this is why I'm doing this in the first place. But the sketchbook drawings are more like, I'm trying to get that shape right, or I'm trying to get this thing right. Yeah, I think the importance of that is really, that's up there for me.
What are the mixture of analog tools and digital tools that you have at your disposal to format things correctly for submission for wherever you decide to submit, be it the New Yorker or elsewhere? So what are those things at your disposal that you most rely on?
I mostly just kind of I'm very analog. I use like regular pencils and dip pens and ink brushes and all that stuff. I clean everything up in Photoshop generally, but and sometimes work in there to collage some elements. But I haven't really gotten a hand on like pen tools, though. I really wish I could, because everybody tells me they're much faster. But yeah, so
and are those like writing, like drawing on a screen, basically?
Like using an Apple pen on a like Procreate software. Yeah, so far I don't know. I think maybe when the technology gets to the point where like it's not like you're drawing on a smooth surface, because that really throws me off. I need, like, I guess, the grit of real paper. No, so I mostly, I think I'm just like kind of a analog and Photoshop girl, unfortunately. But yeah, I was thinking it's back to your earlier question. Like I think artists are kind of at an advantage compared to writers, because we have like a warm-up drawing, but there's not really an equivalent for writing, is there? I guess you can journal.
But I always love getting a sense of sort of the routines and rituals by which we, warm up the engine. To get to your point, you have warm up drawings, but like some of the things that are kind of idiosyncratic and individual to you as you like to, warm up the engine and get ready for, a day of work.
Yeah. No, it's so weird to me when folks like are really like diligent about routines, and I wish I could be like that. I mean, my morning routine is drinking coffee and reading my phone. It's really it's I mean, eventually, I do the stuff, I'll get up and do things I should be. But yeah, it's a very it's like, your example of what you do not want to do, you probably should not be doing in the morning. Spending too long in bed reading like various Substacks. But but yeah, no, I think yeah, I'm hesitant to call what I do rituals. I think it's just like I would say more like good habits, I guess.
Yeah.
Good habits that I try to do more of. But yeah, I don't have like a set schedule necessarily. I'm very I don't I have like a a list of like maybe 5 things I want to do every single day, but I've been really bad at doing them all at like set times. Like even with the Sam Harris meditation thing I did, I don't do that necessarily in the morning. I do that like sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Drawing's the same way, or my Duolingo lesson. It like I cannot get into like a you wake up and then you do these things. I guess it's just not how I'm wired, but I think for other folks, that they need that sort of schedule. So
I know. Yeah, it's kind of like the routine porn of it all. Like so many people are like, I just want to know how people do the work. It's like sometimes it's fucking messy. It's
sometimes routine porn. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great way to distract yourself from actually doing work that matters, or to like getting into the flow. It's like, let me try that person's routine. I know this was like especially popular probably 10 years ago. Yeah, just like, oh, maybe if I lock into this perfect morning routine, I'm going to just like optimize myself for the perfect day. It's like,
God, yeah.
It's like, oh God, must we optimize and commodify every single minute of our day? It drives me insane.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely like I mean, it's bad when you do it in the way where like you feel like if you miss a day, like, oh, I'm fucked. I can't I ruined the routine. You have to be like, well, no, I do it more days than I don't. It's not like I have to do it this day or else something bad happens.
Yeah.
Something bad won't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And well, in earlier our conversation too, you were talking about, rejection and wrestling with that, which is just the natural order of things. And you give yourself 24 hours to wrestle with that. But how do you, metabolize it so you take it forward and not get too saddled by, that inevitable rejection that we all face?
I wish I was rejected more, because that meant I was submitting more stuff. I don't know. So I try to have that attitude. I mean, I think sometimes, there's the idea like, oh, if this guy's getting it, then I should be getting it. I don't know. I think I'm reassured that even though I have, that it is a natural state of things and acceptance is more rare than it should be, that I'm going to keep doing this stuff anyway. So I feel like that really helps. Yeah, and I don't know. I think I guess that, like, and the more it happens, you get like more zen about these sorts of things too. Like, okay, I'll get the next one, or I'll give it,
It means you're on the field and you're playing the game too. Like to me, it's kind of like, oh, this is what we do when we're doing the work. It's like it's part of it. It's like, okay, this is, in a way, it's validating, because you're just be like, you know what, this is what a pro does. We put it out there. It's gonna get rejected. 20% might get accepted, but that's like the batting average of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It feels more professional to not make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
Like if because if you do, then it's like, okay, well, you're then what happens? You're just gonna feel shitty and not do anything else. I mean, and you just keep going.
Exactly. How have you handled the rejection of a cartoon that you're like, this thing's a home run? Like it cracked you up and you're like, this is so good. And then they're like, nah, we're going to pass on this. You're like, how have you handled that?
Well, let's see. Because there's a couple examples, because it's different for each cartoon. Like there's one that didn't get picked up. So I just put on my Instagram, made a Substack about it, easy enough.
Yeah.
And then another one that I'm still like kind of shopping around, like that one's like, okay, maybe I should try a fourth version, because this one I've been like kind of hitting, and I'm like, I'm not getting it right. I'm not getting it right. How am I going to make this say exactly what I wanted to say and have somebody pick it up? So I don't think it's like a one size fits all. I think sometimes, sometimes it's just like, all right, guess this is my own thing now, and sometimes it's like, no, I'm gonna keep poking at this one. I feel like there's something here that I need other people to see it, but I don't just want to have it be like my own Instagram thing. But
Yeah.
eventually maybe it will be that'll be its final resting place. Who knows?
The New Yorker it's a hard door to open, and certainly a hard place to break into. How did you break in?
Well, let's see. So I had like enough cartoons where I kind of had like a little, stuff I could show an editor. And then I was very fortunate because like a friend of a friend offered to like take me to like their Tuesday New Yorker cartoon meetings, where you can go
Okay.
and meet the editor and have her look at your stuff. And then so I did go up there on, I guess that was 2018. And all my cartoons were like, because basically what the New Yorker cartoonists do is they show you they show the editor photocopies of like sketches, and I had like an actual portfolio, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll bring something crappier next time. I didn't know. and and none of them were like the right fit for the New Yorker, but the really lovely cartoon editor was like, well, keep submitting, here's my card. So I did, and eventually I got an acceptance.
That to me really speaks to community and how important it is to kind of foster that community. Like, how important is that just in your trade? This idea of supporting each other in that regard, of community to help level yourself up, but level up others.
Oh yeah, no, it's so like it really. People told me about this before, but yeah, like when you publish a book, like you don't necessarily make any money, but you do make friends, and that's actually the best part about it. Like you do, find other creators. It really is the friends you make along the way. It's awesome. Like that's when I've been happiest, where I'm like talking to like-minded artists, and I'm like, oh man, I'm part of this club now, and you guys are awesome, and we can all, we're speaking the same language that only we understand. It's great, but it's also like this. I don't know, it doesn't feel cliquey. It just feels like fun and really good natured. Maybe it is cliquey and I just don't realize it because I'm on the inside.
Yeah,
hopefully it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. I have a niece who's about to graduate high school and going to college, and like I'm gonna write in her card and be like, basically, grades don't matter. It's like the relationships and and the connections you make along the way, because no one's gonna look at your fucking transcript unless you're gonna be a doctor or something. Like, by all means, get good grades if you're gonna be a doctor. But other than that, it's like anything that's ever happened to me, it's because basically this show I have put in touch with a lot of people, and then I'm able to recommend people to be like, oh, this sounds like a good fit for you, and you should do this, or oh, I know that person, you guys should talk, you guys should hang out, and here's your emails, go be best friends now. And it's kind of like, that's kind of fun to be a node and a connector, and that's just through age and experience, but that's where the juice is, if you can get there, and then the rising tide thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being a connector feels amazing if you can be one. Your first job is going to be like, because the guy you took a freshman year Photoshop class with, at least in my opinion. That's how I got my first job. It's that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, very nice. Well, Dana, I want to be mindful of your time, and as I bring these conversations down for a landing, as I think I love asking the guests for a recommendation of some kind, just like anything you're excited about that you want to share with the listeners. So I'd extend that to you.
Okay, so let's see. I was thinking of all the Substacks I read. My favorite one is this guy called Jeff Maurer, who's like a former writer for Last Week Tonight. He writes a Substack called I Might Be Wrong, and that's like about politics, but it's really funny and really, I don't know, really insightful. I love getting that in my inbox every day. I think it counts as creative nonfiction.
Yeah.
Let's see. In terms of books, the last great fiction book I read was Burnham Wood by Eleanor Catton. Highly recommend that. Let's see. And then Netflix wise, I just finished oh god, what was it called? Four Seasons, which is like a big hug in a TV show.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, it's such a great book. I loved it, and
Oh, thank you so much.
yeah, it was so fun. Like I love your cartooning and your style, and how you go about it, and just how witty and snappy. The economy with which you write a panel and a joke is particularly masterful, and so this book was a real treatise on that. It was just really a joy to read.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, Dana, thank you so much for carving out time to do this and to talk shop and how you go about cartooning and being a creative person now. So just thank you so much for the time and for carving out time to come on the show.
Oh yeah, this was so fun. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks to Dana for coming on the show. We recorded this a couple months ago. Really cool. She sent me a little piece of art and some stickers. And if you know me, you know I love me some stickers. Great stuff. Make sure you're checking her out. Her work in the New Yorker, picking up maybe a copy of the Skip to the Fun Parts book, and subscribe to her Substack and Pitch Club. For a couple days, there was a foul smell coming from what we thought was our pipes, and so we're Googling online. Is it like a P-trap things, or is it like a broken vent something or other? I don't know. Thought it was a P-trap issue, whatever. Smelled like rot, sewage. It was in our main bathroom, but it was also it was in our garage too, which was confusing. So this morning, call the plumber. They immediately ask where the crawl space is in the house. And I tell them, it's in the closet in my studio, which has all my live recording gear and book boxes and nostalgia boxes. It's going to take me like 10 minutes to get this shit out. So I start unpacking, clearing out this closet. And one of the guys, he starts donning a fucking hazmat suit. He's got the mask and everything, head to toe. Now, the crawl space has really earned its name. Like, the height down there can't be more than 3 feet or so. So the poor guy had to army crawl down there. And he's down there for a good 20 minutes, maybe longer. Dogs are going ape shit. I'm just jacking them full of peanut butter. Lick mats, Kongs of frozen peanut butter. I'm like, here, shove this in your fucking mouth, Lachlan. When Ray, one of the plumbers, surfaces, he's got a garbage bag that had what turned out to be 2 dead nutrias in it. And the stench was a match. We had 2 mutant rats who had somehow burrowed into our crawl space. And then they started kicking the shit out of each other and eventually died and then decomposed below the areas where the stenches were strongest. Glad we found the problem because it was bad. I woke up at 1:30 last night. Not that I need any help waking up at 1:30. What with the book panics and all the worrying that I'm going to get scooped on my next book and wondering why I keep procrastinating, almost as if I'm inviting getting scooped. Stench was brutal. Opened all the windows, vented the place, melted one of those scented wax things, flushing the place out. Have you ever seen nutrias? They're like a rat-beaver hybrid. Nasty fuckers. But at least the problem for now is solved. Now we might need to get an exterminator in there to find out where they got in to prevent them and rats from getting into that crawl space and fucking kicking the shit out of each other and dying down there all over again. But this is a parting shot about spin rate. Now, maybe I'm totally making this up, but I feel like I heard it somewhere. Where baseball pitchers, they need to show that their pitch has a certain spin rate, which is to say the speed of its revolutions from the moment it leaves his hand to the time it hits the plate. Or the catcher's mitt, whatever. Elite pitchers have more spin, and more spin means nasty junk. And from what I understand, this is a metric that can be picked up fairly early, maybe even forecast, I don't know. Might even be somewhat genetic, probably is mainly genetic, which is to say, maybe even when you're a kid or teenager, which is still a kid, a coach or a scout might evaluate your sprint rate and say right on the spot that you have no shot at making the pros or even a decent college roster. Should that kid just give up? I thought about this as it relates to writing. Some people have greater junk, good spin rate. They spit it out. And it has something extra that mortals like me don't have, won't ever have. Does that mean I should give up? What's the goal here? There was a moment in my baseball career that it seemed pointless. I was no longer going to advance to the next level, and it seemed futile. Like, why even play this damn game? I had it all wrong for so long. It's why it was almost unilaterally never fun for me. For even as far as I made it, which is farther than 90% of baseball players in the country ever make it. I'm making that number up, but it's probably pretty accurate. If my goal was merely fun, then it would have been far more satisfying. That doesn't mean you eschew the necessary grind of being in the cages and taking reps, but it should be fun. The people who tend to go far in these games, they're having fun sometimes. Same is true for writing. Just because we're not going to be George Saunders or Susan Orlean, John Jeremiah Sullivan or Melissa Phoebos, does that mean we give up? Only if your metric is this hedonic treadmill of publication status, only if you're playing the game of who can get the highest profile podcast appearance and get the best book contract or win this award, then yes, give up. It's a horrible way to create if that's how you measure success in this subjective racket we're in. But if you love spinning yarns, talking to people, platforming people, if the act of creation is fun and buoyant in this world that aims to muzzle you, then that's the win. As long as it is fun and nourishing and you take risks and earn little and big wins and weather the incalculable losses, then don't let these metrics of spin rate metaphor keep you from trotting along your path. I'll keep mixing metaphors here, mainly because it's something I need to hear. Look at the starting line for any marathon, road race for that matter, but let's just say marathon. 99.9% can't win that race. They show up anyway, because for the vast majority, the only race that matters at all is the race within, of challenging our past selves, of bettering our past selves. Someone finishing the marathon in 6 hours, for the most part, is just as happy as the person finishing it in 2.5. Because winning was never the goal. It was testing the boundaries we so often put on ourselves. That's what I want to see from your writing, your books, certainly my own. As you know, I'm not much of a rah-rah guy, but for some reason I felt I needed to riff on this. It's not always about spin rate and being given a thunderbolt for an arm at birth. It's about that daily grind. It's about lifting others up. It's about building your platform so you can better platform others. So stay wild, CNFers. And if you can't do interviews, see ya.